Hello guys, I think I'm live now. I'm just checking. I'm just going to speak for about 10-15 seconds to get to know whether the tech is working fine, whether you guys can see me clearly, whether you can listen clearly, whether the audio is clear, whether the mic is working, and all the rest of it. So if something doesn't turn out fine, like right now would be a good time to to ping and tell me in the chat that something is not clear or the volume is not clear. The rest of it, someone seems to be telling me that this is working fine. So I'm going to keep talking for another 10-15 seconds for the volume to stabilize. And then we will jump in and start handling questions and having a discussion on how to handle this mocks, what to do in mocks, and what are the idea behind the mock cat series. That's what we're going to look at doing today. I'm going to give a broad outline for the first few minutes, and then jump in and answer as many questions as possible. My name is Rajesh. I work with, I run To IM. So I've been in the CAT preparation industry for quite a few years now, close to 10 years now. I've taken CAT a bunch of times. I'm an engineer. I finished engineering from IIT Madras in 2001. I finished my MBA from IIM Bangalore in 2003. As you guys might not know me, so I'm just giving a broad introduction of myself. I worked in the banking sector, mostly equities and research in equities for about 5-6 years. Then started or joined with Bhaskar to run To IM in 2010. I've been running To IM ever since. So I've done most of the content or almost all the content for To IM online, and I do take a lot of classes for the To IM classroom program as well. And so we are a predominantly online coaching company. So that is my background. Right? So keep that in mind if you have any specific question that you have to ask about admissions or relevant to what I have done, to ping that as well. And I'm going to jump in and start talking about what are the key things to keep in mind while running a mock, and what should be your plan for doing the mocks, and how you should execute that. And first up, the mock thing is not about it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You need to have a clear outline about a very well defined schedule about how many mocks you have in mind, and when you're going to take them. And you need to say from right about now, you need to start taking mocks. You should look to amp up to a schedule of one every week. And the last few weeks, you can ratchet it up to even 2 per week. But you should get onto that 1 per week as quickly as possible. And so that is the timeline. That is the frequency at which you should be taking. You should start, if you've not started already, you should start right about now. And you should look to take at least 1 mock per week for the next month and a half, 2, and then amp it up to 2 per week, perhaps even higher than that. Mock is about discipline, about stamina, about building your intensity. So maintain that discipline of taking a mock every Saturday or every Sunday or every Friday night really well. So be very rigorous with that schedule. And so first thing, many students defer mock taking because they feel that they have to finish their preparation. There is no such thing as finishing your preparation. When I've taken CAT probably 10 times, I can hand on heart tell you that I never felt like I've finished my preparation. So there's no such thing. And so don't wait to complete syllabus. There's no such thing. Mocks are about learning to look at the overall 3R at one go, learning to have a good strategy for it, learning to have the stamina to hang in there during the exam. And all those will happen if you're learning without worrying about completing your syllabus. If you're trying to take your mocks without worrying about completing your syllabus, don't wait to complete your syllabus. Jump in and take mocks. Fine. So the one very important skill that you need to add very early on in your mocks is becoming very comfortable with leaving questions. And guys who are taking mocks for the first few times, they don't leave questions quickly enough. And so I'm going to focus on question selection a little while later, but you need to get comfortable with the idea of leaving questions. And that happens when you take mocks without having completed the syllabus in your own mind. Fine. So break that barrier for mock taking very early, very aggressively. Your first 3-4 scores, mock scores don't matter. So don't really sweat the scores. Don't sweat the individual components and percentiles and section cutoffs and all that kind of stuff. None of that matters. And so you need to think about mocks for getting comfortable with question selection, getting comfortable with a 3R intensity, the drill to hang in there for 3 hours. That is important. But the selection of your scores and percentiles, they don't matter at all. Right? So next up, I'm going to think about what are the all of us keep saying that the value from mocks is about analysis. And what do you mean when we say analysis? Fine. So analysis has three components in my mind. The first one is the learning component. Fine. So every mock gives you something to learn. And mocks have the best questions, beautiful questions, wonderful questions that have a very elegant, simple solution and a brute force, long-winded solution. So you need to learn the ability to pick the simple solution, the elegant solution. So learn. And when you're learning, fill gaps. So the question that you got wrong, they should go in first. The question that you skipped next, and then the question that you got right. All three. But fill the learning gap. Just filling the learning gap alone takes a little while. So start with that, and do this very early, because that's when the questions are fresh in your mind. You take a mock, you can't do the learning analysis 3 weeks later. You have to do it the next day, right? At worst the next day. Second thing to keep in mind is to improve your question selection. I have a very simple rule. Every time you take a mock, you should identify 3 questions in each section that you should have left, that you should have not tried, and have a very clear rule for that. If you stay away from the bad questions, you will start attempting more of the good questions. Don't have a good question strategy, have a bad question strategy. Have very clear idea of what you're going to leave. You don't need to have a very clear idea of what you're going to attempt. So keep that in mind. The third thing is to worry about your score, your percentile, your 10,000 feet view. When you're getting tired, what are you getting? Which type of questions you're not getting? Whether you're good at arrangement puzzles, or whether you're good at set theory puzzles. Whether clear number-based data interpretation things work for you, or puzzle-based DIs work for you. Whether you like longer, simpler passages or shorter, more complex passages. That kind of analysis comes after that. And that is something you need to think about as well. So those are the 3 takeaways that you need to do. For every mock you do, you should say, look, what am I learning? What is my tangible takeaway in terms of question selection? And what is my overall preparation idea? What am I selecting? What am I leaving? What are my rules? What am I good at? What am I less good at? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? That kind of analysis. And so it's very important to break your mock takeaways into 3 buckets and work to have a clear takeaway for each of those. Right? Next thing about question selection. How do you know how to attempt the right questions? Fine. So you never know. Fine. That's number 1. So keep your temperament with you. A couple of wrong selections don't kill you. You make a bunch of decision-making errors during the exam. All of us do. I took my 10th CAT last time around, and I have a damn decent record in CATs. And I made a mess of it. I made a bunch of question selection errors in CAT 2018. And so anybody and everybody can make mistakes in the CAT. How you recover from it, how you bounce back from it, how you say, I'm not going to be bogged down by a couple of wrong selections, that's more vital. In terms of question selection strategy, there are 2 extremes. I'm going to outline both. One school of thought is attempt in order, get everything right. Wherever you stop, that's where you stop. Some students have the inability to skip questions. They break down if they have to leave a question because they don't know it. They feel miserable, they have to leave. So they order attempt in sequence and try everything. So the paper is tough, they burn out at question number 11. Paper is very easy, they go to question number 28. The other extreme says, go through the whole paper, select the question that you like, and then you attempt them. And so both extremes are very poor strategies, very poor. And so the first extreme basically says, if I have 10 freebies in the end, I'm not giving myself a chance of attempting it. Second one says, I'll spend 10 minutes analyzing the paper before I even start it. That's a very poor strategy. And there's no foolproof way of knowing what is easy, what is tough. So you might get stuck with a very tough question that you have categorized as easy, and then you're dead in the water because you don't know what to do. Why how that decision, being poor, is going to govern your temperament, is going to become very crucial. So don't have either strategy. Your question selection has to be dynamic. And the best parallel I have is in cricket. You have say a one-day match, and that the team will have a good team meeting and say, okay, let's bat first and set a nice target. And then when they go in, they'll say, okay, so this seems like a decent track. Maybe we'll aim to get to 270. And then half an hour into it, you might realize that it's a flat track and you can actually aim for 350. Or that it is swinging about a lot and slowing down in patches, and 220 is a fantastic target. So the team realigns its strategy and makes that adjustment and say, look, we can go berserk, or we dial down and have a limited ambition. So that ability to make the judgment is important. That fits with you to make the judgment, both are important. And so the number of questions that are reasonable is a function of the paper, not the function of what you are thinking before the paper. So your question selection has to be dynamic. And if the paper is tough, then increase the time you spend in each question. That's all right, because you need to attempt fewer questions. If the paper is easy, then you should be leaving more questions, because you should get all the freebies right. So the bar is higher now. And so make that question selection part dynamic. Yes, as you go on, you should be saying, look, in this section, I think maybe I can attempt 25. It's easy. Or you say, look, this is freakishly tough. You get 8 questions, you're looking at 92nd percentile. I can sense it. I'll make sure I can attempt 10. So you need to have the ability to make that adjustment. That is crucial. And so question selection per se cannot be on either extreme. It has to be once. It cannot be that you see the entire paper, mark down question numbers and do. You don't have that freedom, that kind of time. And you can't say I'll attempt in order, wherever I stop, that's where I stop. Neither is a winning strategy. Keep that in mind. So I have a couple of other things that I had in mind to share with you guys, but I'm going to jump and answer a few questions. You guys are posting questions. I can see that. So I will answer a few questions and then I come back. And then we'll continue with the session. Fine. Third year right now, how do I start preparing for CAT 2020? So read a lot, prepare from fundamentals, but I'm going to focus more on mocks. I'm consistently scoring 96 to 98 in mock. This is from Ritvik Reshambala. Percent seems to have stagnated. This happens. Your percentile improvement is never a straight line. It goes from one plateau to another. You go from 80 to say 88, 89, and then it goes to 92, 93, and then it goes to 96, 97, and then you do 5, 6 mocks. It doesn't move from there. And so this is like a video game. In a video game, you usually go to level 7, and then one day you crack level 7 and 8, and you go till 9. 9 is your level now, but you spend 4, 5, 6 games at 9, and then one day it falls in place and you land at 11, 12. So it's like that. So it's never going to be one straight line curve from 70th percentile or 99th percentile. And so hang in there. Don't lose your calm. You should have a clear sense of what definitely works for you, that you shouldn't change. There are some things that you don't change. The others tweak here and there. Don't randomly go for speed and completely lose control and accuracy in your mocks. That frequently happens. I hit 96 every time. I want 99, so I'll start attempting more questions. And then your score will tank, you're back to 85. And then you start losing confidence. So you should have a clear sense of, okay, these things are my strengths. I'm good at these things. I will crack this. And then say, these things I'm slightly iffy about. That part of my strategy, I'm going to tweak. I'm going to dump parajumbles. They're not working for me. I'm going to start leaving trigonometry. That doesn't work for me. But then don't question everything. If you're at 96, 97, then it's a fantastic percentile to be in. So from there, the journey is very tough. You're basically saying, from being 6,000 in the country, I want to go to 1,000. And so you have to climb up 5,000 rank, but these are the toughest 5,000 ranks, or give or take among the tougher 5,000 ranks to climb. Going from 50,000 rank to 45,000 rank is a couple of questions. From 6,000 to 1,000 or 5,000 to 1, it's a huge climb. And as you go higher and higher, you're competing with more thoroughbreds, veterans, the guys who know their stuff. So you need to find a 3 marks here and a 4 mark there, and some more intensity and ramp up. And so your scores are, you need to find which section you can find that extra 5 marks in. You need to chase that. Very often, the one lever that students don't max out on is intensity. Your mind goes for a walk during the exam. You bring it back in. You lose a couple of minutes in each section. Not just a couple of minutes, your mind frets about having switched off. So your intensity is lower when you're following up. And so you need to bring it back, and you need to make sure that you don't take a walk during the exam mentally. I'm solving an RC passage. I've read 4 paragraphs. I read the 5th paragraph, and then I realize I'm clueless about what was there in the first 4 paragraphs. This happens to everybody and reasonably frequently. So the final gains are going to be intensity linked. You need to be so intense that this doesn't happen that much, and there's not such a big price. You bring it back in really quickly. The intensity gains could very well take you from 96, 98 to 99.2, 99.3. And so work on that. Second thing to work on is to automate more processes. So if you're doing a lot of questions at geometry, the moment you see circle, you should be thinking Pythagoras theorem. The moment you see something with right angle, you should be saying, is it 5, 12, 13? Is it 3, 4, 5? You pick that nugget, then you're amping you're running to the solution, completely amped up. So that is important. So see if you can get those advantages and add them on without losing some core fabric. Right? But it is never a smooth line. Keep that in mind. Akhil Sharma says, my scores keep fluctuating. Scores fluctuate because of one reason mainly, and that is you don't have a handle on accuracy. And so you suddenly want to increase your score. So the obvious variable seems like you'll attempt more questions. I'm giving myself a chance to get more marks, and you feel like, yeah, I attempted 72 in the last mock. This time I'm attempting 80. You go in telling yourself that you're chasing 80. You can attempt even all 100 if you want to. The moment you chase a number, then your accuracy goes for a walk. If your scores are volatile, that means you're taking too many chances in the exam. And so you're basically becoming a hit or miss candidate. And if you're in your section, if there are 20 questions that you attempted 10 honestly, the remaining 10 are hit or miss. One day 8 could go right, one day 8 could go wrong. The day 8 goes right, you have a rock star score. The day 8 goes wrong, you're in the pits. And so if your scores are fluctuating, it's fundamentally because of the fact that you're going too fast for yourself. You don't have control over the paper. You have an ambitious target for your score, and you're chasing attempts as a route to get there. So if you have volatile scores, dial down your attempts, dial down your reading speed, dial down the frenzy part. And very often when you want to do things very quickly, you think you're moving quickly and you're doing this, you're multiplying fast, but you're just frantic, but not really quick. Again, think about a sports analogy here. So if you see cricketers, the guys who we guys used to watch, there's a guy called Markwa, an absolutely fabulous, fantastic watch. You guys might remember VVS Lakshman. So Markwa or VVS Lakshman, they used to play fast bowlers with zen-like calmness. Markwa would actually look like he's taking a stroll in the park. He'll be hitting fast bowlers all over the park. Intensity and speed of thought is got to come from a place of calmness, not from a place of frenzy. And those of us who've taken CAT a bunch of times, I think the biggest advantage we have is managing our mind in the hall. I know sometimes that my concentration is slipping, and then I'll take a deep breath, take 5 seconds off, and then jump back in and get switched on to 100%. Right? So very often when freshers or guys who've taken CAT only once before, they go in, they want to go amp up speed, and they become frantic. And if you see the really manic players, they're not the ones who are cool. The really relaxed players are the ones who can amp up intensity. And so you need to be relaxed but intense. You need to be not frantic and frenzied, but quick and sharp. So you need to find that balance where you can assess all parameters, take every input in your mind really well, and then amp out intensity and go really sharply for the exam. Sometimes you want to do a lot, and then you become frenzied and get a bunch of things wrong, and that kills your accuracy. If you chase attempts and you're always wanting to be hyper in a close setting, then your error rate will go out of whack. So if your scores are fluctuating, slow down your reading, increase your intensity without becoming frenzied, and be anal about accuracy. It'll work. In IIMs, any advantage for government jobs? The job is a job. In step one, if you're employed for this many months and you have clear certificates for that, what type of employment it is, it's not really taken into account by that box, by CAT. When you sit for the interviews, that is when they ask you about, hey, what's your job? What did you do? How well have you done? What is your track record? What's your performance record? What are the numbers? Tell me that. All that they say when you're sitting right across them in the interview panel. But before that interview, to be very honest, if you've worked for a great company like McKinsey or 2IM, or work for some run-of-the-mill entity somewhere, it really doesn't matter. Fine. So you need to know, you need to keep that in mind. So don't let the factor about your job quality affect, because it doesn't matter at all in stage one. Get a good CAT score, you'll get called for the interview. You're in that chair, you can make it count. Fine. So your quality of job or any notional value of job won't matter. I'm not scoring more than 4 to 5 scores in QA. What should I do? If you're scoring only 4 to 5 in QA, then you've not anchored your strengths. And you don't know where your marks are going to come from. Fine. So don't rush and attempt a lot. Basically, if you're answering very few, then I would go to the other extreme and say, okay, I'm really good at percentages, profit and loss, ratio, proportion, mixtures, linear equation, a little bit of averages, some pipes and cisterns, simple interest, compound interest. Okay, I've got 10 topics in the bag. I'm going to look at the mark and say, these 10 topics are there. I'm the king. I'm going to answer those. I'm not going to worry about geometry, trigonometry, binomial theorem, logarithm, reminders, combinatorics, none of this. I want some things in my bag. I'm going to learn the basic topics really well, get to a place where I can attempt 8 questions. Good. 8 in the bag. And then you consolidate that victory. You consolidate the fact that there are some topics you're freakishly comfortable with. Then you say, okay, I've got these in the bag. Now I'm going to expand my set. If you're at 4 to 5, then you're worrying too much about your weaknesses and you don't really know what your strengths are. You've not really honed and got a few big strengths in your bag. Get that. A lot of international cricketers, I'm sorry, I keep skipping back to the sports analogy. Quite a few international cricketers are there who are limited as stroke makers. And so they can't play across the park. They can do only 2 things, 3 things well. So they will first, when they come in, they'll hone this through and say, look, I have 1% shot. That is a shot that where I nurdle around my legs and score to mid wicket. I'll make sure I don't get out, and I'll score 70% of my runs from these 3 shots or these 2 shots, and then I'll expand. And so settle in, know your strengths, anchor them, consolidate that, and then go for the other things. What exactly is accuracy? Accuracy is number of questions you get right by number of questions you've attempted. The accuracy should be aiming for is 100% in quant, 100% in DALR, and upwards of 80% in VRC. In VRC, it's very tough to be confident in attempting everything. There seems to be an objective exam, but there seems to be an element of subjectivity. I'm saying it seems to be because in the end, it's an objective exam. So there you have to back yourself and take some chances. But in quant and DI, I don't understand when somebody says, I'm aiming for 80% accuracy. So what are the questions that you want to get wrong? You don't aim to get anything wrong. You don't. And in quant and DI, you're going to mark the correct answer among the choices or write down the correct answer. So why is there a trade-off between accuracy and speed? There is no such trade-off. Keep that in mind. I'm scoring 35th percentile in mocks. What should I do? Consolidate. If you're at 35th, then you can double your percentile, or you can go to 70th, 80th percentile with just some small tweaks. If you're scoring less than 50th percentile, then your number one priority, you should not think about the overall paper and have a 95 percentile plan, all of that. You need to say, I'm going to attempt 8 questions in quant. I'm going to solve 1 puzzle in DLR. I'm going to read 3 passages in RC. Limit your targets, jack up your accuracy, get this feeling of control and confidence to 65th, 70th percentile. Then you can amp it up. You need to get to somehow 70. And 70, believe me, is just a function of your strengths. You can have gigantic weaknesses and you can ignore them. You can say, look, if I see the word reminder, I leave a question. If I see a circle or triangle or anything related to geometry, I leave the question. You can say, I'm going to learn basic arithmetic and only basic arithmetic and go up to 90th percentile in quant. If your percentile is very low, then narrow your focus, get your strengths in place, and get only that going and go to 70, 75. And then you can amp it up. Then you have to tweak something and chase an 85, 90, all of that. But if you're sub 50th percentile, then that means that you're all over the place. You don't know what your strong suits are. This happens to a lot of sportsmen. So you could be a footballer and a midfielder who does those 3 things fantastically well. Flip, the half turn, pass to the winger. And then you're competing against a really tough team. And then your percentage move disappears. It just deserts you because you don't know what your percentage move is. Your mind gets scrambled. You come under pressure and you're all over the place. And so first step, the first thing you have to do is my guaranteed move. Do I have it in the bag? So get those guaranteed things in the bag. Then look to expand and push yourself harder. I'm miserably bad at DALR and mocks. Please help. Don't beat yourself up. Remember, DALR is a fabulously tough section. Why I say fabulously tough? Because it's been announced and as clearly being tough. What that means is the benchmark is very low. Don't think of DALR as 8 impossibly tough sets. Think of DALR as 2 puzzles I crack. One with a lot of charts, one with a set theory Venn diagram. I get these two right, I'm at 89 percentile, 98 percentile already. So limit your options, rewire the way you're thinking. Two sets right, you're at 98 percentile. Oh, thrillingly good. That's where I want to be. So that's the way you need to redefine what a good score is, what a good performance is. So bring it like that and then go. How to improve accuracy in VARC? Be very particular about solutions. And so when you usually in VARC we come down to two choices. Our mind says between B and D, one of this is right. You mark B and it turns out to be D. I used to do this for years, and I always told myself, I thought B, it turns out to be D. These guys always try to con me out of my mark. Screw it, I'll attempt more questions next time around. And so the instinct is to say it is 1 out of 2. I go for one. These guys will always mark the other thing. They'll obviously have some justification for that. And so it's a wrong way to go about it. And you're not really processing why the guy who set the exam has chosen B over D, and why has he planted that choice D in order to tempt you in and then keep that as the wrong choice. So usually when the paper guy is setting the exam, they'll set one right answer and then another beguilingly close choice, which can be eliminated on some ground. It'll look delicious, but there'll be one thing that is fatally wrong about it. And if you don't resolve your 1 out of 2, so you basically say it is between B and D. I marked one, A marked the other. You're not looking to find out how they eliminated your choice. Sometimes you find that out. You find that out time after time after time for 15 passages. You'll start looking for that trap. You'll say, okay, these two choices are good. This choice really looks too good to be true. Oh, there it is. He's saying this always happens. It doesn't always happen. It usually happens. It's mostly true, likely to happen, but not always. So he's exaggerated that inference, and I'm looking for that exaggeration now. So if you resolve those 1 and 2s, then you become better at picking that delicious wrong choice, and that's a very important skill for RC. If you're looking to improve your accuracy, that's the way to go about it. In quant, I'm not good at any topic. If your preparation is all over the place, narrow your focus, limit your topics, start with arithmetic, become really good at ratios, mixtures, speed time, pipe systems, percentages, profit and loss, simple interest, compound interest, and say, okay, that's it. These 7 to 10 topics, I'm going to become very good at this. And for me, CAT is only this. Get that in, have that strategy in. Bharadwaj, who worked with me, had a beautiful strategy for quant. He said, look, these are 10 topics I take classes for. So I know them inside out. I'm going into the CAT exam and I'm going to answer only these. I don't care about anything outside of these topics. And he nailed the 95th, 96th percentile in quant. He didn't touch geometry. He wasn't that comfortable with number system, but he got 95th percentile plus by just leveraging his strengths to the hilt. And so make sure that you have a narrow focus, get that in the bag completely, hit that, and then say, okay, any exam I can try 10, and then think about expanding your set of possibilities. I find that if I completed a topic, it's difficult to leave a question. Practice leaving. And don't have rules for selecting questions. Have rules for leaving questions. Something I want to discuss in the end. It's a very vital idea. I used to have this. I said, look, geometry, I'm the king of geometry. I'm going to nail everything in geometry. Just a wrong way to go about it. Because the moment there's a slicey, dicey question, I get stuck in. And even if I attempt it, I end up spending too much time on it. And every second the clock ticks, my mind is saying, but you're supposed to be good at this, Rajesh. If you're going to get this right, what are you going to get right? And so in the topic that you're the absolute emperor in, there could be a question that can have you stumped. It might even be an easy question, but you simply haven't got that idea. And so then I completely inverted this. I said, anything from coordinate geometry, I won't touch. Anything from speed time distance, I won't touch. This is stuff that I don't like. And so, but I won't have rule saying any question on angles, I will answer. So you have to leave that. You have to say, I will let go anything and everything. The other idea is to have a what stock traders call a stop loss. Usually in trading, you will buy a stock and can keep it in the hope that it goes up, which is obvious. Right? So, but they'll say, I'm looking for it to go up 25%, but at any point of time, it falls by 4% or more. I don't care, I'm selling it. I bought this. I'm thinking it'll go up, but it's going down. So already this stock is not behaving like how I want it to behave. So maybe I've got everything wrong. I'll cut my losses. I'm buying this, but anytime I buy something, the moment it goes down 4%, I'm out. So the chances are that sometimes it'll go down 4% and then shoot up 50%. You're missing that. But you'll save yourself real agony if you have a very clear rule for cutting your losses. Likewise, in quant, you could say 3.5 minutes, I'm not getting it, I'm leaving it. In DALR, you can say 5 minutes, I've not got the grid in place in my mind. I don't know what exactly, some ambiguity here, I'm leaving it. Cut your losses, that's very vital. And having clear rules for cutting your losses can work wonders. DALR section question selection. This is a nightmare. And so nobody knows. I'm solving the 2018 DALR puzzles where we're releasing all of that on the YouTube channel. We've solved all questions from DALR section in 2017 and 2018 on the YouTube channel. Put wonderful playlists for that. That's 32 puzzles. Fine. So I solved all 32. Right. Now I'm seeing this for the some of the puzzles for the second time. I still don't know uh, whether a puzzle is easy when I see it the first time. It is tough. It is incredibly tough. And I couldn't figure it out in the exam hall very well. I couldn't figure it out that well even now. And I still walk into a puzzle. I start this off saying, oh, very easy. And then I get stuck in a question. So it's not foolproof. And remember that. Finding the best puzzles is important, but that's not the deal. Recovering if you make a bad selection, that's the deal. Everybody makes a couple of decision-making errors in the exam, probably more. The temperamentally sound ones pick themselves up really well. And so I have decided now that I like Venn diagram puzzles. I like them. I just nail them. I might take a couple of minutes, but I will nail them. So I gravitate towards those. And I like puzzles that are purely number based. Your old fashioned 100% DI type questions. I love them. I nail them. I can think in terms of percentages, fractions, decimals, all kinds of stuff. I can multiply, divide quickly. So that's right up my alley. I go for those. I hate puzzles that have multiple variables. So I want to know whether the person is a scientist, doctor, or engineer. I want to know whether they are the red house, blue house, or green house. I want to know whether they're earning 1 lakh, 2 lakh, or 3 lakh. So there are 4 different parameters, and each has 4 variables, 4 metrics. I don't want that. I also realized that if there's a puzzle that is very short, so it's a one outline, and then for each question I have to solve further things. I don't like those either. I like a tough puzzle which I can crack and mark down 4 answers. So I like mathematical based puzzles. I don't like these. So have some rules, but remember that the decision making is not foolproof. How well you bounce back from a poor decision will matter way more than selecting the best 4 puzzles on in round 1. So keep that in mind. Lots of time in solving quants questions. What do I do? There's no magic bullet to this. Solve lots and lots and lots of questions. So solve gazillion questions so that you get very comfortable with that. You get your mind automate some processes, and then your speed will automatically go up. Don't try anything gimmicky. Practice and fine-tuned practice and going through solutions, that they help a lot. The other thing, very often the act of solving is not time consuming. The idea of picking the right method is time consuming. So placing mental cues to say, okay, I see an angle bisector theorem. I have 2 triangles and I'm missing something. I need to find a ratio, similarity. I have a tangent secant theorem, alternate segment theorem. So have mental cues that point you towards the right thing. A question to percentages. Sometimes these things get simplified if I could think of fractions. So 12.5%, 1/8. Is there a 1/8 sitting somewhere here? So having mental cues to open up the door for you, that helps. So do that. But these are all fine tuning. The underlying sitting underneath the bedrock is being very comfortable with the basics and having lots of practice under your belt. How many number of mocks are required for CAT? There are about 16 weeks now. 1 per week should be the plan for the first 8-9 weeks, amping into 2 per week and then 3 per week. Finally, no mocks in the last 4-5 days. So do the math. 25 to 30 seems to be a reasonable benchmark. Take mocks from at least two providers. And so one provider you all know. At least you know which provider I'm going to say. Fine. So pick one or two decent providers and share IDs with friends if you want to cut cost. Almost all providers offer one or two free mocks. So see them so that you have a clear idea of how the interface is, what the quality of questions is, all of that. And definitely solve the 4 actual CAT papers from the last 2 years. CAT 2017 slot 1, slot 2, 2018 slot 1, slot 2. Solve those so that you and keep them as your very real intense mocks, because they're the best practice content you can find. And our YouTube channel has almost all these questions solved completely with detailed playlists and solutions. So to access those for solutions, but do solve them. Our platform has them as a test. You can take it as a test and see all the solutions as well. Try that. They're immensely useful. 8 questions correct means how much percentile. In DALR, that is flirting with 90th percentile. In quant, it's probably 70th, 80th percentile. In VRC, around about the same as quant, probably a smidgen lesser. Should we attempt non-MCQ questions? In quant and DALR, it hardly matters. You're going to solve the question and then either mark the answer and select the answer choice or type in the answer. You're going to get the answer as 4 or 5 and then see if there is one of the choices, or you're going to write in the box. Going from answer choices, that glorious method, it was always bogus. Now it is more bogus than ever before. In verbal, I don't like the non-MCQ question because the only credible non-MCQ question is parajumble. And even if you feel your gut feel is saying that the sentences should be arranged as 2, 4, 5, 3, 1, you don't feel really confident marking down the answer. You don't. So truth is, you're always a little dicey even when you're marking the answer choice. And if you're like that, then it's a killer. It doesn't give you the energy. So for verbal, I don't like non-MCQ. In quant and DALR, to me, they make no difference. I look at the question, I try to answer it, get an answer, and then mark it. If it's theta, I type in the answer. If it is MCQ, I find the answer. Going from answer choice was always a bogus method. Now it is more bogus than ever before. How to exactly execute rounds in quant section. I never seem to see all 34. You don't need to see all 34. You can't get stuck at question number 15, 16. The best strategy, according to me, is have a bias. Very few have one thumb rule. The bias is towards leaving. Look at a question and you say some decisions just take themselves. A passage starting off with some philosophical insight, skip. Find a question from profit and loss which says 40% profit and 12.5% loss. Jump in. These are fractions. They're screaming out to you. And so this is a good part, good stuff. What is the trickier, dicier bit? So you do very in between. I don't know whether I should go for it or not. The guiding principle: when in doubt, leave. That's it. Very simple. In the slightest doubt, leave. Leave and run. So easy ones pick, tough ones leave. On the border, leave. The bias is towards leaving. That's the only mantra you need to keep in mind. Keep it as a mantra. I think you can go till question number 30. You don't need to aim to go till 31 to 34, but 30 is a good benchmark. Again, I find a lot of students who struggle with the section timing because the last 4 minutes completely disappear. You're doing a mock, you're minute number 56, you look at the timer, and you feel like, last 4 minutes, I need to do something, I'll find which question to do. And then you scroll up and down, select this question, that's too tough. I'll go for question number 23. You go to question number 23, you leave, you attempt it, you look at the time, it's 58 and a half, you read it one more time, 59, you read it one more time, khatam. Right, so that happens so frequently that it annoys the hell out of me. Right, so have a very clear plan towards questions you will jump to when the clock is ticking down. And so I use these days, I jot down question number that I'll jump to. I'll find a stinker question that I'm not my favorite topic, but I know I can nail it. I know it'll take me 2 minutes, but I will get it right. I'll write that down. I'll say, so when I'm done with one cycle, and when the timer says question 56 minutes done, I know which question I'm going to like that. I'll click on question number 11, try that. I'll click on question number 19, try that. If I am still lucky and I have room for one more question, I'll click that also and jump there. But don't sit in the damn exam hall and evaluate. There's a part of your brain that says, how many questions have I done? How many are theta? How many are MCQ? Am I doing well? How well has this gone so far? Where am I going to head? Is this enough for me? And none of those damn things matter. And so don't do any part of this evaluation and strategy thinking in the exam hall. And so as far as the exam is concerned, again, I'm going to take a sporting analogy, very vital. So there is a sportsmen work with the instinct and muscle memory for the core part of their skill set. So if I'm a footballer, the idea of dropping my shoulder and dribbling is an instinctive thing. I've done it so many times. I take those decisions on the fly. I've done it so many times that I'm going bang, bang, bang. And then there's a part of their brain that thinks about tactics. So that says, okay, I got to be positioned here. My right wing back has gone up the field, so I'm a defensive midfielder. I need to move to the right so that they don't get a break on this wing. So you need to know when to slip into instinct and when to think like a Chanakya, like a guy who's scheming. And so if you follow cricket, then you know that Dhoni is marking out runs to score from the fifth bowler. Bevan used to do this. Meandad used to be a master at it. And he's thinking so much about the fifth bowler. The fifth bowler gets freaked out. Dhoni is a master at it. Javad Meandad used to be brilliant at it. India versus Pakistan, he'll say, I'm not scoring much of Kapil Dev, but there's that other guy, I'm going to tonk him. And somewhere along the line, the other guy starts feeling it. He says, Javad Meandad, though, he knows he's going to score 10 runs from me. And the guy coming into bowl worrying about how much Meandad will tonk him. So he gets on to that level. So that is the part which is scheming. But even these masters of scheming, your Michael Bevans and Javad Meandads and Mahendra Singh Dhonis, they can't be scheming when the bowler is at the delivery stride. At that moment, instinct kicks in. And so in this exam, you need to have a sense of how many you're attempting, how well, what is your plan, which is your strength, what is your weakness, how are you optimizing your 1 hour, when you should worry about fatigue and all that. And then at each question level, you should go hammer and tongs answering that question. You've selected a question on ratios and proportion. You know that's a good topic, that you're going to get it right. And once you read that question, now a part of your brain can't be saying, how much have I attempted, which percentile I'm heading to. You need to switch on to the instinct question mode and the overall paper mode. You need to be able to switch between one and the other really well. If you don't well enough, you'll get tired. Fatigue will kill you. And so every time you're thinking about the overall paper and you got to focus on the individual question, then your instinct has to kick in and then solve this. So that is something that you need to definitely keep in mind. 2014 was a massive jump in QA sections from Saurav Bukta. As the topic's importance changed massively. What is your take on skipping QA topics completely on certain areas like modern math based on the latest trend? I don't know really what modern math is. If it is permutation probability and combinatorics and stuff like that, you can merrily leave it. Never have we had a paper dominated with combinatorics or number theory, and you can merrily leave it. You can leave any bunch of 4 or 5 topics and crack this paper out of shape. So don't worry about any one thing that's your bugbear. Don't let that thing occupy too much of your mind. But you can leave permutation probability completely out of the picture and get 98, 99 percentile and be guaranteed of it before you go to the exam. Right? How do you analyze mocks? We've done this in detail. That's probably the first thing that we started with. So if you scroll back on your video, the first minute number 2 to 10 or 3 to 15, we went to town doing this. So have a look at that. I'm preparing for CAT 2020. Should I give CAT 2019? If you're eligible, definitely take it. If you're in your 3rd year of engineering or your pre-final year, you are not eligible. Don't take chances. Don't take that. But if you're eligible, definitely take it. There's no better way to practice for CAT than taking CAT once. How to increase speed in VRC? Read a lot. And when you're reading, read with a level of automaticity. Don't read completely in RC mode. That's the worst thing you can do. I've seen so many students who read and they're completely jotting down points, scribbling something here, thinking about the central theme, what question can come, remembering detail, all kinds of utter nonsense. And so if you're reading and preparing for RC, remember this is very counterintuitive, but it's a wonderful bit of input. If you're reading for the sake of preparing for the exam, switch off from this damn exam and read so that you just take in that information like a casual reader. If you're overall very intense all the time, then you can't read between the lines. The crux of the passage passes you by. The humor you don't pick. The wit in the words you don't get. So all the finer nuances, your mind doesn't pick because it's fixated over facts. And so suppose you're watching a cricket match and you do word by word commentary or do line by line commentary, you can't enjoy it. If you're watching a movie and you're reviewing it at the same time, you have to write a review at the end of it. You can't enjoy it. You can't pick some compellingly good thing and it won't strike a chord in your mind because the big part of your brain is writing the review already. And so if you're, for RC, to get better at RC, to improve your accuracy, to speed of reading, everything, spend a half an hour to 45 minutes at least each day reading and without a thought about reading comprehension. Just read. The more automatically you can read, the better you get at picking up nuance. That's important. I see so many people preparing and reading so many passages for RC, and for the life of me, they can't pick a funny line, laugh at a funny line when they see it. Because they see a beautifully witty, funny line, and their mind is thinking, what is the fact I need to store away? And you can't operate in the store away mode and enjoy humor in written context. And if you're not ready enough to see humor in written context, then you're not ready for RC. You're not able to read between the lines. Questions like, what is the author thinking? What could be a good title for the passage? What is the tone of the passage? Which of these professions is the author likely to be from? You can't get that because you're storing away facts. So read without the RC context. Very important. I have only 50 to 60% accuracy in RC. Please help. Most likely reason is you're reading too fast. You're reading too fast. You're looking to scramble and get home and do a lot of questions. So you're reading too quickly. That lands you in a soup. You cannot afford to be reading that quickly. The concepts are clear, but it doesn't get converted while solving level 2 questions. Doesn't click in time. Plant some mental cues, get a lot of practice, know what your strong areas are, and consolidate those. Leave very early. Leave very early. Do these bits and bobs, and it will fall in place. You, at some point of time during the journey, I see a question on motivation also. It's more about belief than even about motivation. You've got to say, I will give myself a great chance. I will prepare a way to glory and push myself, and then it should fall in place. Jo hoga dekha jayega. And so you can't set yourself percentile targets. Set yourself effort targets. Tell yourself that you will take a mock every week for 6 weeks while also completing a novel that have been long pending, solving 500 questions from a question bank, and doing a puzzle every day. You set that target. Don't set a target to go from 80th to 94th percentile. And so sometimes when you switch off from the pressure of the result, then motivating yourself becomes easier. Discipline comes more naturally. When you enjoy and have fun in the process, it all falls in place that little bit better. How to analyze mocks? We've done this to death. So I'm going to skip that. Mock score is varying drastically. That means your volatility is messagely because your accuracy is very low. Read slower, solve slower, get your accuracy very high. I often tell this to some of my students who have very poor accuracy. I say, attempt one mock, where you're saying, I'll attempt really a ridiculously low number of questions, but I will get everything right. Try that. It's a magic bullet in terms of reorienting your mind towards accuracy. You've got to say, I will mark only things that I'm 100% sure, nothing else. Slightest, I will check, re-verify, eliminate other choices, substitute back into the equation and see whether it works. I'll think of myself as someone who's sitting in an Olympiad hall who needs to get only 3 questions right. But do that, and your mind will wire yourself differently towards errors. You won't think of accuracy as a variable. You have got to get everything right. You need to change that attitude. Very important. So take one mock where you dial down the attempts to get 100% accuracy. Mock analysis seems to be a big theme. We've done that a lot. There's about a 10-12 minute section in this video where we went about, said what are the different things you have to analyze mocks. So please have a go at that. I'm not going to go over it again because we discussed it at some depth. So try that out. I want to enroll in 2IM course. Do you provide hard copies? Yes, we do. We have a comprehensive course where we ship study material books that will reach your house. So everything, all information is available on the website. Do check that. I'm going to scroll down and see questions. Theta type questions in sentence rearrangement in the mock, in the CAT exam. Stay away from them. Do them at the end. They don't give you a energy, feel good buzz. You're never too confident marking an answer choices 2, 1, 3, 4, or 5 or something like that. So don't attempt these early. You're never going to be very sure about an answer. Skip that and keep it for later. Almost 6 kids preparing with me last year are in the IMs. I don't know what almost 6 kids mean. And so it's not something, it's not an approximate number, but I'll let that pass. Um, I'm still stuck below 58th percentile. Don't put too much pressure. You can't say, Sharma ji ka beta gaya and prepare for an exam. It doesn't work. You have got to say, I learned something, I'll have some fun, I'll push myself hard. And then where the cards fall, that's where they fall. If you're so particular about this seat and that college with that batchmate and being only 1 year junior and still catching up with then you're giving room for a ton of bitterness and a cartload of pressure. Enjoy the process of preparing for this exam, feel the thrill, look forward to writing the mocks, and then see where it takes you. Good resources for VARC passage. Bharat has a wonderful suggestion list and a wonderful mailing list and a wonderful Telegram group. It's there on our YouTube community. Hit the YouTube community. You get one curated passage every day. He says this is a wonderful article to read today. And then you can ask questions and then discuss that. So that's available. So hit the YouTube group. You'll do that. How to start if my son is in second year. If it is second year of engineering, a 4-year course, there's no hurry. Make sure your acads are good, your marks are good. You could start next year. Second year in a 3-year course, then you should start taking it more seriously from absolute basics for math and a lot of reading for verbal. That's the only 2 things that I'll keep reiterating. Are 100 days enough to get 90th percentile if I start my preparation today? Most definitely, yes. In fact, we have a session lined up at 9 o'clock today, which is going to discuss in depth what the 100-day strategy should be. What should you do with 100 days to go? And so how should you plan if you're starting from absolute zero with 100 days to go? It's there on the 2IM YouTube channel. So ping in there, sit there to have a sense of what should be the plan for 100 days to go. But with 100 days to go, 90th percentile, definitely doable. You'll have a chance for 90th percentile, most definitely. So don't think it's an impossibly tough thing. For engineering students, how to improve VRC for all students. The silver bullet for VRC is a lot of reading and reading without the RC context. Don't read always thinking about RC and passage and storing information and tracking it and all of that. Read for fun, read to take in information with joy. How to improve the scores. That's been the entire session, so I'm not going to go over it again. How to go for LRDI, skip early. That's very important. LRDI, get a lot of practice with a lot of variety. And 4 years ago, LRDI used to be about a set of templates and how quickly you could plug in template ideas into the box. Now it is atypical, unconventional. Every puzzle is something new. So you've got to train your mind to hit new puzzles. And so 2 things I would suggest: get a lot of variety. Do variety of puzzles. Second thing, in every puzzle, go through the line of thought of the guy who has cracked it. A solution is not is sometimes freakishly good because it takes you through the thought process journey. Sometimes it's just a grid that is filled in and you have answer 4 choices. So the quality of the solutions is very, very, very crucial. And so hit the 2017-18 DALR question. They're brilliant. See the solutions. Almost all solutions are available on the YouTube channel. For almost all 32 questions, there are detailed solutions available on the 2IM YouTube channel. Go through those, but go through the solution. See what is the thought process and what is the journey towards finding the right constraint and doing the right bit. And so the more you see the solution and the thought process, the better you'll get. And do questions with a lot of variety. Don't do standard templates. Standard templates are not coming. Not comfortable with leaving RCs, have clear rules. Anything on economics or philosophy, leave. Whatever you don't like, list them down and then say, I'm not going to touch them. That's a good rule, good way to get comfortable with leaving. I won't even process. If it says economics or finance or economy or GDP or inflation, I'll leave. I don't care. I don't care how easy it is. It is in that topic, I'm going to leave. So have rules for leaving. that'll get you comfortable with leaving. And temperamentally, that's a very crucial part of the jigsaw. How many questions I should attempt for getting ideal score? There's no such number. Based on last year's CAT, 2728 for VARC, 1920 for Quant, 1516 for DALR. Each of these would have taken you towards 99th percentile or even better. So that's the number you're looking for. So wonderful. In Quant, how should I master skipping? Have rules for skipping, don't have rules for selecting. So that can really help. So there's some topic that you don't like, put it down and have a rule for skipping. I'm going towards the end. I'm going to wind down in a few minutes. If you have any specific questions, jump in. And then now is the time to ping on that. And there's one thing that I want to hit about. There's a lot of errors that happen with because of fatigue. And beat that down. That's very important. So keep fit. Don't lose days to sickness, injury. Drink lots of fluids. Eat lots of good stuff. Have a good sound sleep schedule. Don't push yourself so hard that your body starts becoming weak. That doesn't work. Have that level of discipline in the last lap, and you can condition your mind and say, okay, it seems like I'm fading out. I'll take a deep breath, look into middle distance, switch on again. I'm good to go. You can train your mind and con it into believing that it's not tired. It's very easy, very easy. You can do it even on a football field. If you're breathless, you can take 10-15 seconds off and tell yourself, okay, I'm not too tired. I can have another 15 minutes of this. Right? You can definitely do it in CAT. You can basically say, it looks like I'm fading out. I'm not. I'll start all over again. And you need to do that. So the fatigue, intensity drop, that error drop, that kills you. So train your mind to not have that. That's a very crucial part. I've known guys who are not doyens in CAT or not doyens in Quant or DLR or verbal, but they max out in a mock because they know how to manage their mind. They know how to select the right question. They know how to not let their ego come in the way. They know how to skip the really bad stinkers, and they know how to stay intense. And so those are the things that you need to add up. Right? How to use the 2IM green course, please ping me offline. I want to focus on the mocks part. Ping me on either a comment section or offline. I'll take you through that. Last year you predicted Quant to be tough because Real Madrid won the champion. Like I said, there is no correlation. If you want to find a correlation, this seems to work. I'm not saying that there is any driver to that. There is no causality. In any case, Real Madrid did not win this time around, so Quant should be easy. Let's see if that also works. We get 3 years in a row, we'll create a theory around that. Is coaching necessary for CAT? Definitely not. But you must take coaching. You know where to go. What could be the average time per passage that includes reading and solving questions? Depends on the level of difficulty. In CAT, verbal time pressure has been not that high in the last 2-3 CATs. You've been able to answer 27-28 questions. So you're able to attempt 6 passages in 50 minutes. 7 to 8 minutes for reading and answering seems to be possible. And if it takes even 10-11, that's good as long as you get stuff right. Number of questions from each topic for quantitative ability. Based on my experience, I can say arithmetic is the elephant in the room. 15 questions from that. 7, 8, 9 from coordinate geometry, trigonometry, mensuration, geometry, coordinate geometry, trigonometry, mensuration. You have only 10 questions remaining for everything else. There is a little bit of number system, a little bit of algebra, a little bit of formulation probability, but only that much from these topics. Getting flown when I see a familiar question. I don't understand what getting flown means. If you see a familiar question, you should jump up with joy and do it. But sometimes if that cranks up the pressure, then you switch off and say, look, familiar, not familiar, kya farak padta hai? I'm going to try this normally. Not able to attempt theta and VRC, skip it. Focus on RC, you can get 99 percentile. The para-jumble questions are an absolute rot. How to pick the right questions in Quant, clear rules for leaving, intensity while solving. It'll automatically fall in place, hang in there. Editorials are good for RC, definitely yes. Hindu is a fabulous place. They have a political bias, but screw that. They write decently well and they're reasonable as far as the similarity with CAT is concerned. Wonderful. How to narrow down from two options in RC. There's an entire video dedicated to this. So just say how to select in the last two choices on YouTube or Google, or put 2IM. You'll be able to find that. That's very good. Have a go at that. Wonderful. I'm going to sign off now. I had a good time. I'm not done this session with Inside IM. Many thanks for having me on the platform. Once again, a brief intro. I run 2IM, the online course at 2IM. Those of you who've not tried it, do try out the course. And those of you who want to reach out to us, ping us on YouTube or Quora or Facebook. We're there on all these platforms, and we actually do a very good job of telling people how to prepare, what should be their plan. And we're fabulously good at teaching. So there's about 30-40 hours of freely available content for people to learn on YouTube, on our website, and on the learning platform. So try out all of that so that you get a sense of what you're doing. The entire 2017-18 papers of all 4 slots are completely solved and available on YouTube and inside the question bank. So try that. Keep that as a good benchmark to prepare from, because it gives you a good sense of what is SCAT level. And that's very important. Right? Wonderful, guys. Best wishes for CAT. I hope all of you do wonderfully well. Prepare throughout this process by saying, look, I'm going on this nice journey, and have lots of fun preparing. It should be something that energizes you, not something that stresses you out. Keep that in mind. Best wishes and cheers.